Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords. And today, before I go on to the main point of my video, I wanted to make a few mentions about the Invisible College. First of all, if you haven't heard already, the Invisible College is now available in hardcover on DriveThruRPG. Not sure why it took them so long, but now it's out. And you can get it in regular color hardcover or premium color hardcover. And of course, you can still also get it from DriveThru in paperback, like this one, soft cover, in color or black and white. And you can also get it there on PDF. And if you don't want to get it through DriveThru, you can get soft cover color from Amazon. So lots of options there. Invisible College has also just become a while back it became a silver bestseller. So it's doing very well. And you should be sure to check it out. 432 pages, occult modern OSR conspiracy RPG. Really, really excellent stuff. I'll be talking more about it. I did a video or two about it already, and I'm going to be going piece by piece, doing kind of reviewing of the different parts of what you get in the book. However, today I'm trying to get through some of my backstock. I've got some review stuff to do. And I have here, today I'm going to be reviewing a book I had nothing to do with, I'll note. First of all, I know that sounds, never mind the Traveler book there. That sounds bad, but I'm not meaning it as a disclaimer, just pointing out this isn't one of my books. This is Liberation of the Demon Slayer by Venger Satanis. And this is if I'm not mistaken, I believe Venger told me that this was actually his first RPG book, if I'm not wrong. So it was one that he did very early on. This was, see, Venger has a weird career because he started, I guess, with this, and then The Island of Purple Haunted Putrescence, both of which are very much classic style OSR books. They're both kind of adventure / setting books. Purple Haunted Putrescence is a setting book. Liberation of the Demon Slayer is, as you're going to see, is an adventure that is basically a dungeon crawl. And that was how he began. And then he, for whatever reason, started doing a series of books that were basically not OSR books that he still kept trying to insist were somehow OSR, even though they weren't. They weren't using the OSR system. He became, his early stuff was very gonzo, but in a much more super serious way, with a lot of like dark and sinister stuff, a bit of humor, but not very much at all. And, it was kind of like heavy metal stuff, right? And then he became increasingly more of a parody or, just kind of the goofier type of gonzo. And now, ever since he released Chalt, and now the other Chalt books that have been coming out, he's gone back to using a system that is at least definable as OSR, and that are slightly less stupid than his middle period books. So there's like 3 distinct phases of Venger Satanis' career so far as a game designer. Very interesting, actually. So Liberation of the Demon Slayer is apparently his first one. Before I continue, I should point out, okay, I had nothing to do with this book, and I make no money from this book. I was not paid. This is not a promotion. This is a review. I think you will all know that I have a good history of being very objective in my reviews and, presenting the good and the bad as best as I can manage. Everybody has their perspectives that can affect a review, but I'm certainly not going to be biased in favor or against. But I will point out that Venger is connected to me in the form that he is my co-host on Inappropriate Characters. That's the only actual connection that I have to him at this time in terms of anything that should require disclosure. So, because he's never published anything of mine. I've never published anything of his. I've never co-written anything with him. Nothing like that, right? But he is a co-host on my other YouTube channel, Inappropriate Characters. So if you're not familiar with that, go check out Inappropriate Characters. It's me, him, and Joe Bittman talking about news and controversy in RPGs. And since theoretically we make a tiny amount of money from that every once in a while, I felt I should point that out. I don't think it'll affect my review. This is not just going to be an ad or something, so don't worry about it. But I just wanted to, for the purpose of full disclosure, point that out. So, Liberation of the Demon Slayer is basically an adventure that involves a dungeon crawl where the characters are looking to find a demon-slaying sword inside a dungeon in order to try to fight against what is basically a demon-focused apocalypse that is coming to their area. The book opens with some campaign notes. I should note, the book is 68 pages long, black and white. It's got a lot of illustrations, many of which are, not all of which, but many of which are kind of suggestive. Some nice maps for the dungeon areas, as you can see. They're very perfectly nice. Some sauciness that shows up from once in a while, and some instances of full-blown nudity in the artwork. Of course, it's all just art. It's not photographs or anything, but take note. He himself says, caution mature content, right? So I guess it's not for kids. Oh, it's Big Chungus. Hey, Big Chungus. Big Chungus is checking out and does not seem especially impressed by Liberation of the Demon Slayer. What's up, Big Chungus? What are you doing there? Hey, how's it going, Big? Okay, this is a problem now. Big Chungus's occupied book. Oh no, I think she's getting out of the way now. Anyways, the setting we're told is a world named Razira, and it's a living planet, and then there's some snake men and dragons. All of it is stuff that has happened long, long ago, and now you get. There's great old ones involved because, of course, Venger Satanis always involves great old ones. I think Big Chungus kind of classifies as a great old one. You are 11 after all. There's some details on elves, magical metals, devils and demons right next to Chungus's ass there. Hey, can you move, please? Hey, Chungus, you're in the way. There you go. Thank you very much. Okay. So a bit of introductory. Sorry, guys. A bit of introductory background stuff there. Great Cthulhu, Yog-Sothoth, etc., etc. And then we get to some kind of house rules, ability score modifiers, hit points. 0-level characters start with 4 hit points. At first level, they roll the die for their character's hit points, ignoring ones. What the hell? Liberals. Remember, back when he wrote this, Venger was still voting for Hillary. Fortune dice, abilities checks, saving throws are on a single number. Wonder where he got that from. Explosive damage. He was playing, I guess, a house rule at the time, where any die, when you rolled the maximum for damage, you would add another die to it. Weirdo artwork. Black sorcery. A magic system, which is a bit of an exaggeration, but he basically has a magic system where any character using magic can do a spell check, which is perfectly fine. Again, wonder where he got that from. A natural 1 is always a critical disaster. A 20 is a critical success. The formula for the roll is half your caster level plus intelligence modifier minus spell level, and degrees of success on a table. All right. Learning new spells, having to do checks for learning new spells. Magic items. Magic items down there. Very basic stuff, but some interesting little house rules that you can take or leave. He makes it very clear at the beginning you can take it or leave it. Rules on thieves, where he simplifies thief checks to basic percentages, stating your reason for adventuring. He also has an interesting optional table here. And notice that at one point he could make long tables. One of my frequent criticisms of Venger Satanis is that he tends to make a lot of random tables, which is good, But usually these tables have like 4 to 8 options when they should have like 20 to 100 options. And so that's not so good. But here he has a table where he says, optionally, if a character doesn't like his ability scores because they're too low, you can give him the option to re-roll one of his ability scores in exchange for having a dark secret. So a background detail that is in some way negative, but also character building. This is quite an interesting table, right? So like you could choose to re-roll one of your ability scores in exchange for rolling randomly and potentially having, I don't know, having fathered an illegitimate child with an orc, or having traded your soul for the promise of gold and glory. So interesting stuff. That's a good table, actually. I'll grant him that. Once upon a time, he could make good tables, so maybe he'll do them again sometime. Social status, which is, he suggests, should be rolled on a D10, meaning that you don't usually end up playing the top bits. That's fine. Makes sense. Though, it's not really in any way a realistic expression of the social class divisions, but that's fine. Then he's got like hit locations, dramatic moves and combat maneuvers. You could tell when he wrote this, I think he must have relatively recently read Dungeon Crawl Classics. Sex and violence, interesting note for him. And he says, like violence or the threat of violence, sex motivates. And why should it be any difference in the campaign? I mean, he's always been one of these guys that for some reason wants his RPG campaigns to have a lot of sexual content, which is definitely not something I felt it ever really needed. But I mean, in campaigns that are based on role-playing, it makes sense to have characters have social connections of all kinds, right? But I don't think that's what he means. I think he means like, sexy parties sort of things, that are like, to me, just seem a little bit sophomoric, but okay. He gives a history of the local area, and that basically there's the background of the story is that there's a town or a village called Cleared Meadows, which is near to some ancient Sumerian ruins, and there's a magical sword that is in a dungeon, basically, under Clear Meadows, a sword that didn't belong to, that was known as Calthalax the Demon Slayer, and presumably created by the gods of order, though that might not be true, and that this is a weapon that could stop the destruction of an invasion of demons. And basically the characters are supposed to go into the dungeon, which is locked behind them, so that they can try to rescue the sword in order to prevent a devastating demonic invasion. The adventure notes point out some of the secrets of the campaign. There's a rumor table in the finest tradition of old-style D&D modules, where rumors may or may not be true. There's a timetable that suggested you want to keep track of time, because obviously there's a certain amount of time that you have to get through the dungeon before the demons will arrive and slay everyone. So, you only have so much time to rescue the sword. A wandering monster table with wandering monsters ranging from yellow-purple scorpion worms to silver robots with laser fists to super intelligent green jellies with telekinesis. I mean, he was certainly into like some very good kind of Lovecraftian gonzo, let's call it, at the time. It was quite good. And so then you have the different levels. And as far as the dungeon is concerned, I mean, the layout is nice. You get a bit of information about every room. You do have some of the same stuff that you see that I've criticized. If you've seen my previous review of Chalt, for example, You have, this is not one of those OSR dungeons that are made so that it looks so that the whole thing has an ecosystem, right? It's not a dungeon where the rooms have a logical progression and connection to each other. Instead, it's very much a dungeon of a series of rooms, each of which seems to be their own little world, right? And that's very much what Venger's style is. So each room will not necessarily, like a lot of them might not have a lot of sense when you think about it. Like if it's an ancient locked place that, had no access to the outer world and suddenly there's weirdo humanoids and things like that, Obviously some of the monsters here could have been around forever, but a lot of them, you kind of wonder what the hell they're just doing hanging around, frogmen. Like where do they eat? What do? They just hang out in the room. And I mean, that's fine. It depends on your party, right? Because like some DMs, some players and some groups have... They really want their dungeons to make a lot of sense. And some don't care at all about that, right? Like they just want to have exciting challenges. And so if you're the second group, you're not going to have any problem at all with this. If you're in the first group where you're like, wait, this doesn't make any goddamn sense, right? Like, then you might have a bit more of a problem with this dungeon. It might not be to your liking, right? As a whole, it's all quite interesting stuff. There's some, they're all, basically every room is a vignette. And so there's some of them that are a lot better than others. Some of them veer towards the silly. A lot of them are very edgy. Some of them seem very random. But there's a lot of good stuff to keep you interested and excited. Essentially, if you like Chalt, if you have Chalt and like Chalt, you're almost certainly going to like this. If you don't like Chalt, then you're probably not going to like this. It's pretty much that simple. If you're already familiar with Venger's work, then this will be and you like it, this will be a welcome addition to those works, even if it's going to be a little bit less on the silly side than most of the books that you've gotten from Venger, which are from his later and sillier period. But it's good. It's good stuff. I mean, in fact, if the thing you don't like about Venger is that he gets a little too silly nowadays, well, then this might be more to your liking, in fact. As long as you can put up with all the kind of Priest of Cthulhu edginess, because this was when Venger was full blown I'm a Priest of Cthulhu mode, which nowadays I think he's not that serious about anymore. If he ever was. But at one point, he at least pretended to be really serious about it. I'm not going to judge whether he was or not. So again, the artwork is, it's got that very Lovecraftian style, but within that, it's certainly well made art and well positioned. It's probably quite satisfying as a dungeon crawl that you don't want to think too much about, right? Like you don't want to give it too much thought about how it works, but within that, it's pretty cool, It's certainly Venger-esque, but it's a Venger from another time. So that's basically, like, look at that, Jesus Christ. Curly from the Three Stooges, and here he is looking like wanting to be the high priest of Cthulhu. But there you go. Liberation of the Demon Slayer. All in all, I think it's a decent dungeon. It's going to be something that you're gonna like if you like that Gonzo-ish style with a lot of that kind of heavy metal influence. Then this is definitely up your alley. I have not checked exactly where you can get it, but I'm sure that it's probably available on drive-thru, I'm going to guess. I'll put, if I find a link to where you can buy it, I'll put it in the description below. And be sure to check it out. But while you're at it, also be sure to check out The Invisible College. And if you like this video, please share it. Share it anywhere you think people will be interested in finding out about Venger's first book ever. I'm pretty sure it's his first book ever. I believe that's what he told me. If you like the video, press like. And if you want to support me and have me keep doing both reviews like this and my more usual videos where I'm exposing and commenting on the latest news and controversy in the RPG gaming world, then be sure to support me. You can support me if you like on Patreon or PayPal. But if you rather than just throw money at me, if you want to get something back, you can check out my products like the Invisible College, like Cults of Chaos. By the way, if you like stuff with sinister cults but you're tired of Lovecraft, check out Cults of Chaos, which is full of medieval-inspired secret cults, sects, heresies, etc., with a whole system for generating your own cults and sinister groups, that complete with, resources and problems and goals and adventure seeds, everything you need to make sinister evil groups for your OSR D&D adventuring. Cults of Chaos has just become a gold bestseller on drive-thru. So, be sure to check that one out. And same with all my other books, Star Adventure, Arrows of Indra. There's almost getting to be too many to name these days. Dark Albion, Lion and Dragon, The Old School Companion, World of the Last Sun. And of course, if you're short on cash but still want to support me and still want to get some good gaming content, check out my 105 issues of RPG Pundit Presents. Each issue provides you something that you can use in your type of OSR or D&D TTRPG game, but it doesn't cost you very much. And it's like you're buying me a coffee, but you're getting something interesting that you can use, ranging from medieval authentic stuff all the way to gonzo adventuring stuff. So be sure to take a look at that. And all right, we'll see you guys all later. Currently smoking. This is a Stanwell horn. Sorry, Lorenzetti horn, plus what's left in there of Argento Natural.